Do I want to put that in the car? Just in case. Let's throw that there. Oh, what is this? Okay, I need to go through these. This has got batteries and stuff in it. Okay, plugs. Yeah, we'll go through this and see what all this is. Okay. This is computer stuff. Canon. I don't even remember. I don't even know if I still have this. I'll put it there for now. All right, let me see who's on. Live chat. Hey, Flatbed, what's up, baby? Let's see who all is in here. Found the drill. Lay you here. I'm gonna let people come in. Can y'all hear me okay? Can you hear me okay? Y'all say I ain't comb the hair, brush the hair. Okay. So, I have a remote I was looking for. Let's have a universal remote. I need that. Okay, where's the back? Oh, there's the back for it. Yay. Everybody hear me okay? You know I can't see chat. I'm in here. I should have brought the Hey Carolyn, what's up, Jay? Rochelle, what's up? JJ, my son, what's going on? Flatbed's in the house. JJ's in the house. Carolyn's in the house. Can y'all hear me? Can y'all hear me? Okay, said yes. Okay, cool. All right, got you. Y'all, what's up? All right, and y'all, next time I'm on, I'm gonna get y'all if y'all don't tell me y'all can't hear me. I was at the coffee house. Y'all couldn't hear me, and nobody told me they couldn't hear me. So, I had no way, and I just kept talking, telling that long story until somebody said, I can't really hear you, dog. The music is louder. So anyway, but that was one of my favorite coffee houses for those who come in. Actually, I did a video outside of there a long time ago when I was first came into trucking. I was in trucking school, and I did a video, Universal Remote. What I'm doing now, because I don't start my new job until the 17th of October, I'm working on the apartment. So God has given me time to start getting through boxes and bins and stuff that has just been put on the side. Because normally when I would get off, when I was at the trucking company working from home, I was 12-hour shift. When I went to the other company, I was a 10-hour shift work from home. And then when I was in the local transit bus company, that was just early in the morning. And when I come in here, I was freaking exhausted. And then I had to fall, and the leg is still healing. Y'all keep praying for the leg. So leg is still healing. So this time has actually given me some time for it to heal. It's been doing pretty good up until just recently. Joe and a friend came and got me. And I think when I went to get in and out of her car, I kind of pulled on those muscles again. So it's a little sore again at the lower calf level. And I've just been putting it up. I'm put some warm heat on it tonight. The bruising on the front has gone down. The bruising in the back of the thigh is still there, but it looks to have receded some. But the bruise in the back was really bad. So I just put ointment on it. How are y'all doing? How are y'all doing? I decided I'd come here. I might have to go get the plug. I'm going to see how long it goes, or we just end it once the battery gets ready to die on me. I might get the plug. If I have to go get the plug, I'll go get the plug. I'll turn y'all around and y'all watch the TV. And I get the plug. How's everybody doing? Everybody give me a thumbs up, like, share it out, let people know about the channel. I don't make a lot of little revenue. It takes a long time. I normally don't get the kickback for about 6 months because you have to have really big numbers to get kickback. I am at where I can do monetization, but my kickback is normally every 6 months. Once it tallies up to $100, they'll send that to you. So that's it. You know what? When I was over the road, I actually like Love's. Love's is usually pretty quick. and their little tech group was pretty decent. So I actually like Love's little repair shop. It wasn't like TA. I don't be, y'all, I'm sorry, I don't trust TA as much, even though they have a better selection. Love's tended to be, they just kept it real. That's the best way to put it. So if Love's couldn't fix it, they'd be like, you need to take this to a trailer shop. Like I had, it was something with the electrical system on one of my trailers when I was up in, where was I at? Oregon. And they got me over there. And then I had to take it to the trailer shop in Oregon. And it was the one I liked them. They were just, they kept it real. It's something we can do, it's something we can't do. They actually patched me enough to get me over to the trailer shop, and I dropped it at the trailer shop. And then I don't know if I went back to Love's or we slept there on the yard. I can't remember. And I might have had a student. I can't remember. So I'm a fan of Love's when it comes to that little shop. They tell you what they can and can't do. And I mean, they don't have as, they're not as diverse as like a TAA or some of the other ones, but I like to just, at least the Loves I went to, they kept it real. Oh yeah, you got some kind of wire. It's probably a wire. One of your wires is going bad. Anyway, guys, so I am out again of transportation, just real quick, and I may go more in depth in a whole nother video. I left the local bus company to go to the train company, which is like our public train here. A lot of things that were told to me at the, what do you call that place? At the job fair were just a glimmer of what they were requiring. And I did get let go. There was 5 of us in the class. 3 of us got let go within the first week. So the first dude, I still don't understand why they let him go. He seemed to be getting it. He was a thin guy. But I also think there was a look they were looking for. So I was overweight. And that was warned to me by one of the ladies that I met who drove the train. She was also overweight, but she started with them years ago. And she was about 100 pounds lighter than me. But she told me, she said, because she could see I was, hey, what's up, PJ? What's up, man? He told me that, hey, you know, I see you're struggling. And I had come, it wasn't, I did okay from what I understood, because when the safety guy was there checking off the boxes, he's like, damn, she did that fast, quote unquote. That's, I don't cuss that much anymore at all. And so I was like, okay. And he said, holy shiznit, fellas, she just beat you, because they have this thing we had to bring down. And then we had to move this mechanical ball that connects the trains, that if you touch it in the wrong spots, it can shock you to death. There was a lot of stuff that was not told to us. So being that Monty Grumpy worked for the train, he was for the big industrial trains. He was what's called a brakeman switchman. So he would switch the tracks when the trains would turn to the other track. He was the one getting off the train or getting out there in the yard, switching it. They also had special boots. There was a whole bunch. And this was, hey, Kathy, what's up, baby? Like, thumbs up, share it out. There was a whole bunch that was not described. So these people, once we got there the first day, they tell us we were supposed to rate on the little test. I get that. And then in the side of the book, not really mentioning something about agility. This actually should have probably, at least for my situation, should have been done in the beginning before you ever were employed. Okay, so you know whether this is a fit, and it should have been described. I did, to my knowledge, fine, because on Wednesday we did the agility test. Thursday I came back in, no issues. Then the guys tell me, oh, we're gonna walk the whole outside track. Now I think that's a little bit of a setup, because I think there were things that took place that told me I think they were trying to get rid of my behind in the first place because of my size. And one of the ladies I met who was actual driver for them, we went down to the actual break room and interacted with the people who were already employed. She pulled me aside, and she was also a union person for them. And she told me, she says, there is no protections for you for your weight. And she says, and they will use that to discriminate against you. They may not call it your weight. She said, I'm just letting you know. So when you do these agility tests, and I said, man, we've already done these. And yeah, I'm getting ready to flatbed. I'm going to get ready, girl, we're lay it out for you. So I said, we've already done these. And she said, and she told me, and she said, and I told her all the steps I took. So that was on a Wednesday. She warned me on Wednesday. No, hold on. That was on Thursday when she talked to me. We did the agility test on a Wednesday. And this was in the first week. And then on Thursday, and we were supposedly hired. They let us go. So it wasn't like a trial period. This is during the 90-day period of you being there. So then on Thursday, when I came in, the guy who was over the class, he's like, well, how did you feel yesterday? I was like, I felt okay. It was hot because we were out there, Arizona, 106 some odd degrees. And they have us out in the heat doing this on the yard. So we had to climb from what they call the ballast or the ground onto the train. I'm short, so you guys can pull yourself up. You have the upper body strength. I did it like back in the day of climbing on a trailer. I threw one leg up, come up on my knee, brought myself in, bring the other knee in, and then I grabbed whatever railing I had and I pulled myself up to stand up. Got in safely. I got in and out the same way. They had us lower this thing called the pentagram, which is what connects to the cantilever, whatever they call it, that connects to electrical. And you have to crank it. Well, it's just like cranking a trailer, except with a trailer, you're going this way. With this, you're holding it this way and you're going this way, and then you go this way to bring it back up. So lefty loosey, so left to lower and right to tighten to bring it back up. So I did that where all the guys were kind of struggling. Matter of fact, 2 guys did not complete it. I'm just gonna and they kept those 2. We'll leave that alone. And the 2 guys that went before me, the safety guy who first time coming out there, which was interesting. Let me back up. So Wednesday morning when I was walking in, I came up, they have a long ramp you have to come up into the building. I'm heavy set, and it's warm. So as I'm coming up, I stop about a quarter of the way to the door, catch my breath a little bit, and still go up. And so one of the girls who saw me, who was a security person, she said, they got an elevator. I said, yeah. I said, we're supposed to do this agility test today, so I'm trying to make sure my legs are loose based on what they described. I said, so let me just go on and walk this and get my legs loose and get some, energy in them. As I'm coming up, another man comes to the door. He holds the door and he's looking at me. And I won't give names, but anyway, he tells me his name. And I was like, oh, okay. He is the manager of safety. And he goes, are you new? And I said, yeah. And he goes, are you in the class? I said, yeah. And he tells me his name. I said, oh, okay. Give him a fist bump and nice to meet you. I'm going to be in your class today. I said, okay. I take the elevator up from inside the building. So you could take the elevator from the bottom floor, or you could walk the ramp and then catch the elevator, or you can take the stairs. So I took the elevator once I did the ramp. He went the stairs. So he shows up in the class and kind of got like this very stringent look on his face. And, just not friendly. And I'm thinking, you guys need people. You need to be coming off a little different. And I'm not saying you got to be best friends, but there is a way when you're looking for employees and you're shorthanded that you need to behave. So getting back to it. So he comes into class and he introduces himself. Then he says to the trainer, you're doing the agility test today, right? He says, yeah. Call me before you go out there. My red flags went up, but I didn't know exactly why. So when it came down to the agility test, old boy called, and this other man shows up with a clipboard. He has blank papers, and we all had our agility tests with us, or at least the paperwork. So we get down there, and he takes us down the stairs, outside stairs. That's 3 flights down. We go 3 flights down to the ground. We get down to the ground, and then we head to the train. We go, and part of it is coming from the ground because there's no platform on the yard from the ground level onto the train. So I would say, for those of you who are truck drivers, it would be probably not coming from the ground because it's harder coming from the ground up to the trailer, but it would be about the distance of once you're standing on the bumper into the trailer. So that's about the distance you were going from the ground. Just that's a rough estimate, and I think that's still a little bit deeper. So you're bringing your body up from that bumper, the metal bumper, into the train. Okay, and like I said, the fellas, they just boom. For me, and probably if you were maybe a stronger chick, you could do that. For me, I always, and even Danielle said, I roll in there and I squeeze my chestises. Back in the day, and she said, I hate it. That's why I went reefer. I said, I try to tell people reefer is your friend because you don't have to be climbing in out that freaking trailer. So I did it. I mean, I've done it for a truck. I mean, so I was able to do it. I did it. Got in there and I came up in my knees just like we normally would do. Yes, you remember that story? I'm getting ready to tell you. Oh my God, I've been thinking about that story. Yes, I have to tell that story. I don't know if that was the one we did together or what he told me. Okay, girl, you've been watching. I will have to go over that story. I'll have to, yeah, I'll share that in a minute. So I do believe they gave the internal trainer a goal to possibly get rid of me. Okay, we'll get into it. So at this point, I went in, I got in, and then, like I said, I cranked that thing down. That they all kind of, him, the trainer, and the safety guy looked at each other because it's really hard to do that crank. And I said, oh, this is just like on a trailer, except it's up. You have to hold the pole and do so. Of course, because I'm used to that. I mean, 6 years of trucking and reefer, that was one of the worst parts of reefer is beef or meat loads. And those meat companies would put the crank it all the way up, so then you had to lower this freaking thing in low gear. Hey Mandisa, what's up, baby? You have to lower this up. You'd have to lower it in low gear until it got to a point where you could throw it into high gear, and then the legs would go up. It was a pain in the butt, but you had to put your whole body into it. And so this was not anything. It's just the difference. It was a pole that went up opposed to like this. Okay. So I did that really fast. Then they had us do what they call part of the agility was sitting in the seat, the driver's seat, and adjusting the seat. So you have the lever for the air. Well, the lever for the air was under my thigh. So I just stood up and adjusted it accordingly and then sat back down. Well, that's part of their agility test. I'm like, okay, y'all, this is a setup, okay? Then you had to get out the train and you have to move this ball, which I still do not understand because they supposedly have a lever in there that has something to do with moving this ball. But this ball is the electrical connector that connects the trains. And none of this was told to me as you being a driver of the train. And here's my problem. I don't think the driver should have to do that. I'm not trying to say you're better than. I get that maybe you need to know in case of an emergency, but I don't think this should be a regular thing. And for them, it is a regular thing if you're leaving out in the morning and possibly coming back in the evening. For me, I'm an afternoon person, so I would have probably went for their afternoon evening shifts. But the only thing you would have really had to do in the afternoon evening was to usually drop the train. In the morning, you have and possibly switch if depending on what your schedule was. But most of the time, these people were having the drivers stop and manually switch the tracks to get out the yard. So again, my father was a brakeman switchman. That's what he did. He basically would switch the tracks on the yard, or if they were out in the field and there was not an automatic track switcher, they would get off the train, switch the tracks, and go their way. But for the most part, everything was set accordingly. But leaving the yard and entering the yard, he was the one who switched the tracks. So they had a group of people who did that, and Nick, his buddy, was an engineer. Nick drove the train. These people, and to me it's cheap. Hey, what's up, Wendy? If these people turned around and they had their drivers stop, get off the train in the morning, go out there and switch the tracks so that they were heading out whatever way, it was weird. And none of this part was described. So again, I'm going on what I knew my father did and of what I know of trains. So I had no idea. I'm not going to say they're a bad company. I'm going to say they're very cutthroat. So anyway, I did that part. And then all the boxes were checked up. And he's like, oh, we got to do the stairs again. I said, what do you mean we have to do the stairs again? We just came down 3 flights of stairs. And then that's when it clicked. Are these people trying to wear your behind out? Because, like I said, there was one other guy. He was a little guy. He had a reading disorder. He's a black guy. And I understood why he was let go. I liked him. He was a sweetheart. But he had, I don't know if he was dyslexic is one thing I could think. But his reading was probably that of about a 4th grade level. He struggled with words and he struggled understanding words. And he hit me off when he first met me and like, I'm going to sit next to you because you seem really smart and sharp. And I'm like, and I thought that was a weird statement. And then when they put the books in front of us, these big books, and you could tell he was apprehensive about reading. And then I was like, oh, and then when he started reading, I'm like, oh, brother can't read. you know, that's was like, oh, okay. So I don't know if he was one of those kids that just got through school, passing, you know, sitting next to the popular folk or to girls or whatever. And that's, you know, you get those kinds and they make their way through school and they don't know how to read. I don't know. He's from originally from New York. There was another New York brother in there who I really liked. He was a sweetheart. I would give him and his daughter a ride in Old Man Red because they were riding the light rail and the bus in. So I would give them a ride at the end of the day. And really nice guy. I mean, everybody in the class was cool. I didn't have a problem. One guy in the class, the one they first got rid of, which I still am sitting back here going, why? He didn't have food, so I would bring sandwiches in. When I found out he was hungry, I would bring a sandwich in for him and me, and then I would just quietly drop it on his desk. Nobody knew because I usually was the first one there in the morning. I would sit the bag with the water and a sandwich, and if I had chips, I put a little side chips because in trucking. Some people come in, they own their last. They just, you know, you own your last in transportation. So I got that there's a lot of people in there struggling. I even hooked people up with who my realtor was because some of them have just, like one brother was from New York and he only been here 5 months. And he's staying with his daughter who had been here 5 years and transitioning to Arizona. And he said he was going to look for a place. And I said, well, I'm my landlord. She deals with lower to middle income folk. And a lot of times, you know, her requirements may not be as stringent as others. So this may be easier, and sometimes her stuff ain't the most expensive. It ain't always a shiny nickel, but you'll get a decent place. It'll usually be painted, remodeled, cleaned. And she usually will put, if there's no appliances, she'll get your refrigerator in there or whatever, you know, because she manages for different owners. So I gave her and another guy in there the number. I mean, when I had such an impact, I'm going to say I was the last one that they let go of that day. That when I left, those two guys came and gave me 2 big bear hugs. And you could tell. And one dude said, I need a break. And he just walked outside. And you want to have impact. So I believe maybe God put me there for my impact with them. I thought it was going to be turned into something else. And it's okay. Because in the long run scheme of it, after I looked at all the stuff they were throwing on the table, I was doing it because it was a job. It was no longer what I thought it was. I'm going to put it like that. And I'll go back to the bus. So I'm going to, because I want, well, this video is just going to turn into that. I can't knock either one. The only thing I'm going to tell you, if you do the light rail here in Arizona, it is very cutthroat. I got let go. They said agility. So the next day, and this is what bothered me, if my agility was bad on Wednesday, then why did you keep me all the way till Friday? Okay, so that was my other issue. So on Thursday, they made us, all of a sudden we come in, he goes, oh, we're gonna walk the whole yard. So if you understand train yards, these things are walking on what they call ballast. These are the rocks. Those rocks are sharp and jagged. Our uniform consisted of some pants, a polo shirt, and walking shoes like tennis shoes, or they had to be black, a black type tennis shoe or walking shoe. Neither of those are set for this kind of stuff. Actually Monty gave me a set of his work boots, his last brand new set that the railroad bought for him. And if I bring those out, those things are heavy as hell. And the bottom of those things are, they're like a rubber. I don't know what the hell they made out of, but you ain't gonna feel nothing in them. And they're like heavy. They're like weights. It feel like I could do this with them. That's how heavy they are. They have a compost toe. They're leather. They're made by a company called Red Wing. And the railroad bought their stuff for them. So when you step on those ballasts, you're not feeling those rocks. My shoes right now over in the corner, the bottoms look like I done had them, I had them but a month. And the bottom looked like hell. From me walking out there 2 days in a row on them yards. And the second day, they made us in 100 and some degrees walk. And I did struggle, but I said I'm going to do up and back. One guy said, oh, I'm overheating. They kept him. He went inside. He only went one direction. I went up. I went back. I told him I'm not going to be the fastest one, but I'm going to finish it. And I did. I walked trucking yards. I might not have been as fast as a thin dude, but I would walk all the way to the back to go check on stuff with my truck at the in the shop when they were doing maintenance. And I'd walk all the way back to the driver's lounge. And sometimes back again because you had to walk the yard. It's just what it was. I'm not fast, but I can do it. So by the time it was over with, I'm telling you, my shirt was soaking wet. And he had asked me before we did this, he said, how did you do the day before? And I said, oh, I said the heat had gotten me. I said I had a really bad heat headache. And I just got home, drank some water, and slept, which is true. My legs were jelly, though. And by the time I got done with this, my legs were jello, okay? So we come in Friday morning, and that was Thursday. So I did walk the whole thing. I did the switching of the tracks. I was getting the switches. He had already made his mind up in the train, but I also think he was encouraged to get rid of certain people. Okay, I'm just going to tell you. The one guy who had the reading issue, that was already a done deal. I knew, and I already kind of knew it, and I felt sorry for him, but honestly, I did see it. You've got to be able to read. He did not understand a lot of stuff. He was really struggling. There was a learning issue, so I got that. Very nice guy, but I got that. Me and the other guy, now I got maybe going to use me because of my weight. Me and the other dude, though, the other dude he was a former bus driver as well as trucking. So he had a trucking and busing background. And what I can say, and I think what happened with him, his teeth were rotted out. I think they wanted a certain look, a certain type of person. And if you didn't mesh with that look, they already knew who they were getting rid of, okay? The one guy, he had been, the one guy from New York, he had worked as a light rail security person. His daughter referred him in. They both were originally light rail security, and his daughter had been in the class right before us. So she was already in training to drive the trains. So he had already been working in the system. So I got that, and he was physically in great shape. Physically great shape, intelligent dude. I liked, everybody in the room was pretty much cool. Like I said, the only one, and he was a cool guy, was a little brother who just couldn't read. And he was a couple years younger than me. And he had reading issues. Very nice guy, but the brother couldn't read. So, and I'll look at the comments here in a minute. At this point, we come in with Friday morning. We're supposed to be doing what's called the switch test to learn how to switch the tracks and to make sure we can identify the positions that the switches were in. I got there extra early, so I was the first one. Usually I'm first one there, first one there. I'm sitting in class, and the guy who was our trainer says hi, and then there's another lady who takes over our class because she had been in some sort of accident, and she was waiting for her DOT physical to clear, our drug screening to clear. So she was taking over our class, and he was taking her students out, which I also found very convenient because this was the day that they were letting us go. Again, 5 people in the class. Phone rings as she's teaching, and she tells the guy who I was bringing sandwiches, I can't remember his name. She tells him, so-and-so, the HR lady wants to see you. It's the one I met at the job fair. So he comes back in, he starts packing up his stuff, and I'm like, okay, what the hell? And at first I'm thinking, well, maybe they found something in his background check, but our background checks were completed before we were hired, so it couldn't be that. He looks at us and he says, it's been a pleasure being with you guys. He says, they told me I wasn't getting the switches, so they're letting me go. Now that to me was already a sign things weren't right. We were supposed to be taking the switch test that day. So how can you justify he's not getting the switches? And the sad part was, outside of the class, anytime the trainer would leave, or if we had private time, we were talking and we were discussing the switches and looking at the pictures. And he seemed to understand when we looked at the pictures what the switch was. Okay, he seemed to get it. And so I'm like, you guys haven't even given him a chance to do the switch test. Overnight, he could have studied and he could have understood them if he was having any difficulties. So I'm not understanding. So they told him that. And that told me, no, that's not why they're letting him go. Then the next phone call rang and they asked for the guy who couldn't read. He goes and talks to her and he comes and packs his stuff up. Third call, I knew it was for me. I was like, the weight issue. Because Thursday, the lady that I met downstairs, who was a driver, she identified, she says she basically told me they were going to discriminate based on the weight. And it's okay. That's not an EEOC thing that you can say anything about. Hey, Rochelle, what's up, baby? It's not an EEOC thing. So, which is what she's absolutely right. So if you're obese or overweight, they can't. My other problem is this. So, and here's where I had a bigger issue. Don't waste my time. Okay. I met the head safety guy the day of the drug screening. Now he did something. And when I thought back through everything, I believe he was trying to get me to go the day he met me. He said to me as we walked down these stairs to head to the break room where all the drivers and people who work for the light rail have for their break room. He said, this is the room where all the drivers and stuff congregate. He said to me, I don't know if anybody told you about the job. And I was like, well, I went to the job fair. And the way that the HR lady had described it, in a sense, he is right, but he did not describe it in the way it should have been described. He goes, well, you're going to have to work the night shifts because of your seniority coming in. You're going to have to work all the holidays because of your seniority. And he starts giving me all the negative. And I'm thinking to myself, at first, it didn't click till later. I'm like, it's like he's trying to talk me out of the job. And I'm thinking, you guys are at the light rail at the job fair because you need people. You're short people. I mean, you're short people. So you're short over 30 plus drivers right now. You're expanding and you need drivers and you're short 30 plus people, okay? So you need folks, and you're kind of like trying to talk me out of it. Even though you can tell people this is what you're going to have to deal with, you also tell them, here's the pluses. You're going to make good money. There's going to be overtime, blah, blah, blah. So I told myself, first of all, I used to drive trucks. I drove reefers, so I drove nights, which is my favorite anyway. I said, I delivered early in the morning. I said, so that doesn't bother me. I'm single. I'm not married. I don't have kids. So I'm not worried about a holiday. Matter of fact, holiday money I like. And so he just kind of got quiet. And I was like, okay. But something told me this dude is trying to talk me out of this thing. And then the guy who I met at the door, that guy reports to him, okay? So it became, I think the purpose was to, yeah, I was definitely going to have to get out of there. I was definitely a goal of getting out. The other ones, like I said, the guy who had the reading issue, I think that was incidental. He just had a reading, and I got it. The guy who had the teeth issue, who I used to bring sandwiches to, I didn't get that. Only thing that I can identify, he didn't, because of his mouth and because of he wasn't disgusting, but he was a smoker and his teeth were rotted out. So I think he did not fit their look. He looked like some of the truckers I would see out there, okay? He was clean coming in, but he looked like a trucker, in a sense. His hair was cut appropriately, his face was shaved, but when if he talked and you saw the teeth, you're like, okay, you need to go get your teeth done, you need to go get dentures or whatever and get the rotten stuff out of there. So I just kind of he didn't fit their look. That's the only thing I can think. Because telling him you're not getting the switches, and we hadn't done the switch test, which were supposed to be done that day, it just didn't make sense to me. And he was the first one they let go. And then they got the guy who read, and then they did me. And like I said, when I got ready to leave, the two guys, it tells you have an impact. They just came and gave me a big bear hug, both of them. And both of them still text me. Well, one of them does. He texts me to say, hey, he's going into service. They're getting ready to drive the trains. I told him, congratulations. I don't have any ill will for them. To me, like I said, the way it was handled, the whole, at least my portion of it, my niece said, Shannon, they should have done that in the first place. I said, no, not only that, everything that should have been described when you applied for the job. But the other issue I have is, if weight is an issue, do it just like you do flight attendants. My friend Shanae, she started with Continental, who got taken over by United. And we were working at the bank as dispute escalation supervisors for Chase. When she first went into transportation as a flight attendant, for her to get in, she had to go be at a certain weight for her height. Shanae did everything under the sun to make sure that when she went in, she was exactly what they wanted. She was working out, drinking water, cutting meals, doing all sorts of stuff. To me, even skinnier than what she should have been. But she did whatever they required in order to get in. She knew what the requirements were. If this is an issue for the train, you need to do the same thing. Now, Trucker Bill, I have talked to him since then. And Bill said, I'm going to tell you a story. He says, I tried to get on with, because Bill's loved transportation since he was a boy. When he got out the military, his goal was to get into transportation. And he said, I was either going to be in trucking or I was going to work for the trains. He tried to get onto 2 trains. One of them, Bill used to be close to 500 pounds. So he was a big guy, was 6'3". And he says, they let me go for the same thing they did, agility. He said, they did the same thing to me. He said, it's their way to letting you go because you're overweight. I'm like, okay. So it happened to him. And it was good to hear that from a 6'3" man, that he went back through that in the day under the railroad that my father was with. Another one, I think he said he did Pacific, whatever, and he tried for them, and he says what happened, he forgot to list a job, so they didn't keep him for that reason. And so he ended up in trucking. And he says he knew that that was going to be one of those were going to be his career choice, because that's what he wanted. He likes, Bill go home and watches trains and airplanes and trucking videos. He is truly an enthusiast of transportation. That's his thing. Okay. So it was good to hear from him. But yes, and I forgot who just mentioned it to me. Hold on, let me go back. Flatbed. Yeah, my father. So what happened to me is funny you mentioned it, because I thought about my father and the story he told me. So Grumpy, when he was a trainer, so he trained a lot of people coming onto the railroad. Matter of fact, a lot of the guys, the fellas that talked at the funeral, it was impressive what they said. Even Nick, who's the engineer, Nick was like, they chose, I guess Monty had a good work ethic. Both my parents are very strong workers, and as Joe says, I see where you get it from, because I work hard. And like I said, even that yard, walking that whole yard, my leg is all jacked up from the fall on the butt. Honey, I did that whole thing, didn't care. Pain, no pain. My leg was still jacked from that fall on the bus, and I had a little brace on there and sweating. My shirt was soaked. I mean, you could probably wring my shirt out. It was so hot out. So it was like 100 and some degrees out there. I'm soaked. One part, I just hit my knee, and drank some water, got back up and kept walking until I did the whole thing. I told him, I'm gonna be slower than you, but I'll get there. And I did. I walked the whole thing, but I was slow. Up and back, up and back. The one dude, he only went up, and he's one of the ones they kept. I'll leave that alone. Anyway, back to it. So Monty told a story, for those of you who don't know the story, that Flatbed is mentioning, if you didn't see one of the older videos. Monty trained, he was a trainer. So he did a lot of training for people who came to the train, and they would bring people. So they brought a black woman to him, the white management, and they were trying to encourage Monty to let her go. Okay. When it came around time for them to come out there and get a report, they were like, basically, why is she still here? And Monty said, because she work. He said, matter of fact, she worked harder than most of the fellas. He said sometimes she's a little bit slow, and she a female, so she don't have all the body strength we have. He said, but she gets it done. She work. He said she worked harder than the dudes who got the body strength to do this. He said, so it won't be me letting her go. If y'all got a problem with it, y'all let her go. So I'm just like, okay, that makes sense. And it's fine. Like I said, everything happens for a reason. And it was funny, one of the ladies who didn't stay with the bus company, me and her talked, because she thought about going over there too. When I told her they had hired me, she said, Shannon, is that something they do every day? And I said, not really. I said, and so the thought process is they were looking for something. I said, yeah. So what happened on the train that day was not enough. So then the whole walking of the yard and back, that actually was probably where they failed me on agility. And that was their justification. It's okay. So everything happens for a reason. I came home that Friday. This is the Friday right before Labor Day. And I had a company that had been bugging the hell out of me for 3 months, even with the prior job, but I wasn't feeling them because they reminded me a lot of the prior job. So I actually have 2 job offers right now. I'm taking one over the other, but I'm leaving both of them open just in case of any hiccups. The other job offer was a referral. Somebody knew me and they referred me, and it's back in healthcare. Good money. I didn't even have to do an interview. Let me just put it like that. The referral was such a strong referral, I didn't even have to do an interview. I put it in on that Friday. On like Tuesday, I received something saying, be in this job offer Zoom meeting to talk about your job offer. And I'm like, job offer? I haven't even interviewed. And I called the person who referred me. I'm like, hey, sis, your company is talking about job offer. Oh, girl, I told you you'd be fine. I told you they're going to call you. I'm like, okay. She said, I told you they'd be happy to get somebody like you. I'm like, well, praise Jesus, right? So sure enough, it was a job offer. I picked my schedule. Yeah, this was all like was it the week after Labor Day or whatever, that Thursday or whatever. So Labor Day week or whatever, that I think it was that Thursday. So the only issue was the job doesn't start till the October 17th. So I start on the 17th of October. But at the same time, I figured let's go ahead and get the house in order. So I got like one last check from the light rail for that week that I work with them, and then I just been working on the house, and so not doing too much. Um, I've had some very close people that helped out with a few of the bills, like the rent, because I had part of it, but not all of it. So yeah, so I had help for this month, and then I'll have help for next month. So God's been good. He's just really supplied some needs there. And then just everything else is because I'm an urban prepper. I got tons of food. So I don't have, y'all, my fat book got food. I can cook. I have everything in there other than to go out and get occasionally fresh stuff because the ninjas called the lizards ate my lettuce. I can't grow lettuce because the little ninjas eat it. I'm going to have to find something. I think I'm going to have to get, I saw a lady do this netting. I think I'm going to have to do that because these little ninjas. And when I come home, one of them is always by the door. Like, I guess he think I'm going to feed him. So my garden is not doing good. I have to do the fall garden. I'm going to see if we can do better with the fall garden. I did buy a drip system, so I need to put that in. I actually used that at my last complex, so I'm going to try putting that up again. We'll get to that later. So that was the light rail. So the light rail, I would say, is very cutthroat. Like I said, there were 5, and when I left, there were 2. The bus system, and I'm gonna say this because I don't have any ill will. Like I said, there was one dude there who was kind of a jerk. He kind of would just he went off on one old guy who was really sweetheart. This man had, I don't know, 30 plus years in busing and trucking. And all of a sudden it was like we walked in one morning and the next morning I know this dude goes off on him, and I'm like, and we kind of like all like, where the hell did this come from? Then he did the same thing with me when they lost my paperwork and, oh, I'm gonna exit you from the program. Oh, okay. I start packing up my stuff. And he's like, well, you don't have, and I was like, no, y'all lost it. I'm thorough. Everything you people have asked me for from the moment I walked in this class. How do you have a permit without that paperwork? You need to help me because that is your standard to collect that the first day, is it not? And he looking stupid. I said, so how did I sit here for 3 weeks and now you telling me I didn't give it to you? That none of what you just said makes any sense. So he got clowned. I did it in a nice way, professional. I said, none of what you're saying. I said, but it's okay. If you telling me I'm exiting, I'm going to go home and go to sleep, and I got some homework to do. Because at this point, I was thinking that I'd already been contacted by the light rail people. So that was one. The fall on the bus was one, and the fact of how it was handled. Not knocking the lady that was training us, but what should have happened was they should have had sent me somewhere to check the leg. That was never mentioned. And later I did mention it in safety because I walked in with my brace on and was talking to one of the guys there, and it was 2 people there, even they had a little safety. Nobody said, oh, wait a minute, Shannon, did you get this checked out? No, they never said that. So, and that's okay. I'm walking, so prayerfully nothing was broken, just a lot of bruising. Once I get my health insurance, I'll go check it out and deal with it on that level and get the leg checked fully. But at this point, I just was like that. The other issue I had, which a lot of friends that are friends, family to me, they were like, everybody was concerned about safety. And like I said, I hadn't ridden the bus in over almost two going on 3 years since COVID hit. And what I saw, and I wrote some of the stops we went by, I used to ride. Every blue moon, you might find somebody laid out, sleeping on the park bench, on the bench out there, as a homeless person. But what I saw was disturbing. I've never done drugs a day in my life. The most I do is the drugs a doctor prescribes. The most I've done in alcohol is a drink like wine, occasionally a margarita. I'm not a heavy drinker, never have been. I'm not that person that's going to be intoxicated. I do go to wine bars, even though I'm Christian. I like wine. I do go to wine bars every so often. I'm not even going to sit here and fake the funk. If I go to a Mexican restaurant, I'll do a margarita. And usually that stuff is so watered down, it ain't got no liquor in it hardly. Maybe a drop. It ain't got nothing in it. You're really going for the flavor of the margarita mix. And you have that with your food. That's it. I'm not a person similar to the Bible. I don't get intoxicated. And I just don't. It's just not my thing. I like to be in control of my faculties too much. but between the alcoholics and the drug addicts at the bus stops and the mentally ill. And God, my heart goes out to the mentally ill. It goes out to the homeless. In a sense, it goes out to your alcoholics too and your drug addicts. Even though they've chosen a life where they become addicted and they have no way of getting out, a lot of demonic stuff behind that. But I believe in what God tells us is wisdom. And what I saw was concerning. We used to go, we call it the school trippers, and we would pick up the kids over here at a couple of the bus areas for one of the high schools. And that was part of our practice of, getting used to passengers coming on and watching how how the driver, our trainer, would handle it. But we stopped in one of the areas. One dude had a needle and he had his shoe off, so he's gonna shoot whatever drug he had in his foot. Another one had some foil he was smoking something off of. They had liquor bottles. I saw some disturbing stuff. I don't have any other way to put it. I saw some things that were highly disturbing. Um, my last trainer, who I really liked, he's a very popular trainer. Matter of fact, he's in videos that bus companies use across the country. And a very, very good trainer. He had basically stated, allergies, y'all, allergy season. And I also just cleaned my CPAP because my CPAP needed a good cleaning. He basically had stated when we did my last ride, when I was deciding, because I was still struggling at the end, whether to stay with them or go to the light rail. And like I said, the two big things, number one was when the man talked to me crazy in the class. Number two was the fall and how it was handled. And then the number three was the last conversation. And what I also, because we almost had a fight. Well, there were a couple of different things. The first guy I was with, second day we were together, we had a guy get on the bus to tell us that he helped the bus driver break up a fight, which I believe him. And he was going downtown where they would get the lost and found to see if they had his wallet from whatever took place on the bus. So he needed a free ride, so we gave it to him. And that they had to take the bus in because it had blood, because I guess 3 Mexican dudes jumped this black guy. We're gonna talk. I'm getting ready to get into it, Flatbed. Get ready to talk. So when and I had to look at it from my perspective, and I think they were mad at me, and I get it. You can be mad at me because they like, you're not eligible for rehire because you can give us a 2-week notice. Guys, y'all wouldn't have rehired me anyway if I would have given you a 2-week notice, and you probably would have made my life a living hell had I given you a 2-week notice. Blah blah blah. And the trainer, she was nice. She did text me like, "You leaving?" And, "Well, you were a good driver, and I really liked you." Yes, I'm a very good driver. I'm not trying to be a butthole, and I'm trying to be arrogant. I like to drive, and I can handle a vehicle. If you drove a freaking semi truck all across the U.S., parked and backed that thing from the East Coast to the West Coast, trust me, you should be able to be somebody who can drive a bus. Okay. So yes, I'm very decent driver, and I pay attention. I'm not distracted by my phone. I'm not, that's not my thing, and that's like that light rail. They were talking about a lot of the people they were firing was because of phones. No, that's never been a distraction for me. That's why me and my students, half the time, that was probably 90% of the time when I had students with Swift. That was one of the biggest issues, is the cell phone. The cell phone was a huge issue because people were like, life ended if they couldn't be up there. Like I told you, I had one driving, trying to play video poker with his girl driving down the highway. Are you for real? That's when he ran us out of fuel. Anyway, we won't go there. So, the last dude, well, that we had the issue on the bus with that guy with the letting on. Then we had the drunk guy. The last guy I was with, we had a drunk guy who almost got in a fight with a black guy on the bus. I'm like, Lord have mercy. And then what happens is another driver will take over, so they'll bring a company car for you to drive back to the yard. So he brought the company car, and me and the guy were in the car. And I love this guy. I know the bus company may not like what he did, but to me, he helped me solidify my decision to try the light rail. He says, Shannon, wait for it. How are you dealing with the mentally ill? my ninja. I'm just trying to drive a bus, bro. I'm not a counselor in the sense of dealing with mental health issues. So he proceeds to tell me some of his mentally ill stories, one of which was a guy who started stabbing, I guess, I don't know if he said he had a knife, something weird, but whatever it was a violent act. And he was talking to this crazy dude was talking to this invisible thing and began to stab. I thought he said he pulled out a knife or something and try to like stab this invisible thing he was talking to. And he says, all I could think was drive the bus. I started laughing. I'm laughing, y'all, because I'm like, this crazy as hell. He said, all I could think was drive the bus. I'm going to myself, ooh, wee. So then, and I'm laughing because I'm like, okay. So then he said the same dude would get on the bus sometime with a stick and a string and something hanging off string and be like he fishing behind this dude's head, like behind the bus driver's head. He said, so Shannon, what I discovered was you don't want to engage them so you don't get beat up. Yeah, I'm good. So the train sounded appealing because the way she made it sound, you were going to go in behind the door. And I thought the door locked. It doesn't. It just latches. So it sounds like anybody could open the dang door. Yeah, but Uber, so the difference with the bus, what you're bringing up, Rochelle, you cannot deny passengers. You have to go through dispatch to, or through what they call the OCC, which is their dispatch, to tell them that you're going to decline a passenger and why and get permission to do so. You're not supposed to deny passengers. Even in the test, like for those who are alcoholics or intoxicated, you are supposed to let them on the bus. Even in the test that the government gives you, the written test, it tells you that. So I'm like, ooh, wait. So, and I've been on a bus where they let a drunk guy get on and he's in the back of the bus and he just puked all over the back of the bus. Everybody like, don't say nothing because everybody trying to get to work. If you say something, they make everybody exit the bus because it's a biohazard, which I finally learned this is what they do. They bring an entire another bus out. So now you've been back, you're delayed at getting to work. So that's why people are like, don't say nothing. And everybody start moving to the front away from him. And he back there puking and pooping and doing whatever else he's doing. And they can't deny that. And that's the sad part about it. So I get it, but those are the things. Now, he's not physically violent. He's just nasty. But you got hardworking Americans. And I'm sorry, to me, I do think there needs to be something where that bus driver can say, yeah, no. The other problem, though, with that is that these behaviors, also alcoholism, drugs, and mental issues, these people can become violent. And so he's like, he says, I wouldn't engage the mentally ill so that you don't get beat up. Y'all want to say something to you. Now, Shannon ain't no punk. Don't get it twisted. I will put my dukes up with the best of them. Y'all hold on a second. I am going to go get the charger. Hold on. Y'all going to be watching the TV set. Hold on. Okay, be right back. Let me get the charger. Yep, that's the box. Okay. Hold on, y'all. All right. Hold on, y'all. Hold on. All right, turning y'all around. Hopefully this is charging. I got y'all on the battery charger. So hopefully it's doing what it's supposed to do. Let me know if y'all can hear me okay. All right. All right. So, what he said between that and what I had seen, it was concerning. The sad part is, and this is where I am going to say for those of you who are in transportation who want to go into busing, or the busing and the train, the busing is less cutthroat. I'm just going to say that, at least from what I gathered. It doesn't matter. It's like trucking. You can be fat, skinny, in between. It doesn't matter. You can drive that bus, go up, back, forward, and do the driving and pass it and pick up passengers and get in and out of that little tight box they got you in. You got a job. It can be good money. There is a brother sisterhood in it that I did like. That was the thing. I did like the camaraderie. Everybody spoke. There's that. There was just a good camaraderie. I did like that, with the exception, like I said, the dude was a dick, who kind of talked to me crazy. And it's sad because the guy with the 30 years, I can't prove it, but I got a feeling all of a sudden, like, he was there for a couple of days after that incident. Then he called and told him something about his mama, and he never came back. And the sad part is he had a lot of experience, and he was a very sweet old man. He played Santa Claus every year for the kids. Just, I liked him. He nicknamed himself, like, my car is called Red. He said, "You just call me Red." And every morning he was really nice. He's a heavy set guy like me. Me and him, we actually trained a little bit together on the bus, and he was really nice. He was like, when I was struggling getting in the box, because he was taller than me and heavy set like me. He's like, "You make it?" I said, "Yeah, I made it in the box." He said, "I was seeing if you was okay," because I'm short, and we had to climb up in this tall box. And he was just as nice, and he was supposed to be what they call a road supervisor. Sweetheart, just a sweetheart. But dude talked to him crazy, and I believe that, basically you disrespected men. Being disrespected is not something men take. And I think he basically did this and didn't come back. And there is another bus division here in Arizona, just so you know. So if something I want to do, this company did help me have the passenger room. So that's why when they were like, "Oh, you're not eligible for," I'm like, okay, whatever. Because normally they've had other people leave within a short amount of time and they would come back. But it's okay. I knew they were pissed off about me leaving. Now, it is what it is. The company I was with, they handle the Central Phoenix area. And Central Phoenix does have a different, I'm going to say, bus client base. Not saying the other two don't probably have some unique client base issues, because the one in the East Valley, if I'm remembering correctly, when I was living out there in 2015-16, there was a bus driver, I think he was shot and killed by one of the patrons on the bus. So, and then we had a guy who was in our class who had driven for the Mesa bus system here in Arizona. And I think he said a passenger pulled a gun on him or a knife or something like that on him. So I started looking at the big picture, and the big picture for me was, I'm 54 years old. I'm not, yes, if somebody attacks me, I'm going to fight. I'm going to fight to the death. But do you really want to put yourself in that position? And it was $17 an hour and change. And like my best friend said, they need to bump that up a lot more dollars for what you just described to me. And a lot of friends, family, they were like, "Shannon, you sure you want to do that?" And like I said, you can make good money. Don't get it twisted. I'm giving you the hourly rate, but there were drivers there, granted they were living there, that were making $100,000 to $140,000 a year, because within, I think, 5 years, you're making $30 an hour. It is union. Is it a good union? I don't know. Arizona unions, I don't know if they're as strong as the union Monty had, or as strong as the union that my friend's husband, who was a postman, had. I don't know, because I never had to use them. One of the guys who was in our class, who had been the Mesa bus driver, he said that he had worked for the bus and the union didn't help him in a situation. I don't know what the situation was, but again, we are Arizona. Arizona is a right to work state. So that's how with the train, you're making the decision in 90 days whether that company's for you, and they're making 90 days whether you're for them. So that's why they can let you go in Arizona for any reason within 90 days. They could have just said, "We don't think you're a fit." Okay. They give reasons because what that does is it eliminates them possibly having EEOC or labor board disputes. But in Arizona, you can listen to anybody. You can just say, "I don't like the way your hair is cut the wrong way. It don't fit our corporate culture." They let you go for any reason. They don't have to give you an actual reason, a valid reason. They can just say, "We're letting you go. You don't fit our profile or whatever." Now, you don't want to leave it that vague for, like I said, protection reasons, but that's what it is. So that's what took place between both. If anybody asks me, which I would recommend if you were going to be in your bed every night, if you can get through the light rail, okay. If you want to get out there and be on the tracks and switching, and I think that's craziness. I think they need to hire people just like what my father did and let that person handle that. Let that be their job. Even the coupling of the trains where you're bringing that electric ball out and all that, that needs to all be handled by someone who works the yard. That is their job. And they would just be out there when the trains are out there, and then you could use them for other mechanical reasons, maintenance. That should be their job. Let the driver of the train drive the frickin' train, okay? Um, yeah, what I saw was way too much. The bus job, if you're okay with it, yeah, you can make a lot of money. Some of the bus drivers, a lot of them were flossing. Nice vehicles, nice rides, everything from Tesla sitting out there. And I mean, if you use that to rank people's status, one of the guys who trained me, he'd been there years. His truck was being worked on, so he rolled up in his Mercedes the next day while he left his truck there for one of the guys to come and work on something that went wrong in his truck. And his wife worked there too. So he had Mercedes, they have houses, they're doing quite comfortable. But also, I'm gonna tell you, they live there to do that. I mean, that guy was there 12 hours a day. He was there at 2:45 in the morning. And the way it works with them, he was working what they call the extra board. So he could actually maybe just drive a 8-10 hour day, but get paid for 12. If he goes an 8 hour day and his goal is to be there between 2:45 and whatever time in the afternoon for a 12-hour shift, guess what? 2:45 in the morning, 2:45 in the afternoon. When he gets done at the end of the day, he gets paid 12 hours, whether he only drove 5, because he arranged as an extra board on call worker. Those are the times he's on call, and he took whatever route they would give him. That's what we did. That's an option. You could also try to get a shift in some, at least here in Arizona. You're going to be most likely working an extra board coming right out of training, and then you may find a permanent schedule, and then you can put yourself on call for overtime. You get paid, at least with the one I was with, weekly. I don't know about the other one. So that's an option if it's something I decide to do. I like driving. So honestly, the driving part I enjoyed. My concern became more of the patrons. And it also became concerning that I couldn't say to a drunk person, "No, bruh, your little wino butt gonna sit right there at that bus stop and sober up. When I come back around, if you got your stuff together, you come on board." One of the trainers talked about she let some folks on. Next thing she knows, she had this funny smell. They back there smoking what she thinks is fentanyl. She has to pull the bus over, open the doors, contact dispatch, and she can't feel part of her face because of a contact with whatever the hell they were smoking on her. No, 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 no. So that became some of my concerns. But of all of the 2 experiences, you asked me which one I would go for. If you're looking for something local to be in your bed, go for the bus company. That's what I'm gonna tell you to do. I would tell you that the train out here in Arizona, too cutthroat. And I don't know, your state may be different, so you need to wait. And if you go in, you need to ask some questions, because like I said, what was described at the job fair, and I can't blame this lady because it didn't sound like she had been with this company a long time, because she was talking about she was trying to get an assistant. It took her a long time to go through the hiring process. She said they were short manned. So it sounds like this lady, because she mentioned she had moved here from Texas. It sounds like she was thrown in. And I could be wrong. Maybe she worked for them in the other state. I don't know. I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt because our rapport was so good and it seemed genuine. But HR people are hard to read. Sometimes they can be fake and phony, because I've worked with them before. And they can sit in a room and smile at you and know they're going to fire you. They can. And you will not know. They've been known for 2 weeks they're going to fire you. I mean, they know for 2 weeks that they're going to be a layoff. They sit there and like, and just be just as nice, could eat a lunch with you, knowing that you're going to be part of a layoff packet, and they'll just smile. HR, that's a job I would never want to have. They're two-faced. It's like two-faced people. They're two-faced. So, HR used to be for the employee. They're not. They're like legal lawyers for the companies. They're not for the employee. When they first started out, that was what they were, but they're not now. So that was the experience. That's what happened. But God opened another door. Like I said, it was Friday before Labor Day, and I had an interview on Monday, Labor Day, and then I had to do some kind of test, and I had one job offer, and then I had an associate of mine who referred me into her company, and I did a little application and test for them on that same Friday. And then they got in contact with me, I think it was Tuesday, and told me about a job offer. And I was like, girl, these people, I told you you're going to hear from them. I told you they'd be happy to get you. And she's been there for a long time, though. She's been there well over 20 years. So next thing I know, I'm getting a job offer. So they're really who I'm going for. I've just been keeping both on the hook just in case anything changes. Because one is actually, the orientation is the 3rd of October, but the training doesn't start till the 10th. And then the other one starts on the 17th. So I'm not going to start the one on the 3rd. And the one on the 3rd was kind of weird. It is work from home, but they got a camera watching you the whole time in your house. You got to be on camera while you're working for 12 hours. I'm like, that's weird. That's kind of, it's weird. That goes back to how a lot of people in trucking, a lot of, like, Swift lost a lot of drivers when they put those internal cameras. The drivers was like, we're out. That's too much. Because you live in the truck. People live in the truck. I mean, look, I had a porta-john in my truck. You go to the bathroom in the truck. You do everything in the truck. You eat in the truck. You get dressed in the truck. I did a sponge bath in the truck. Some people cook in the truck. You talk to your family in the truck. They talk to their spouse. They have children, stuff they don't want you in. And you got a camera constantly on looking at you. And so they were like, yeah, no. So Swift finally turned off the cameras inside the truck because they could not, drivers were rolling out. And it was a question that sometimes they would contact companies and say, do you have active cameras inside the truck? People didn't care about the outside. It was that inside personal space. Now you're going to have that on a bus, but a bus, you got live passengers you need to watch because folks will do the madness and you want to have proof of that. But inside the truck that you're living in, that was a bit much. And it's the same thing with my house. So I did say yes because it was a job, and if I needed, also did not pay a lot. It was like, and they also do tiers. You get started this little low tier of like 14, then you move to 15, then you move to 16. Whereas my friend's company, they coming in close to what I was making between the trucking company and the last company I was with. So they coming in with the right kind of dollars. They talking dollars and making sense. So, and that also could become work from home, but yeah. Hold on. So the company your husband works for put 5 inward-facing cameras in his truck. Oh, snap. Wow. Yeah, a lot of the big companies, at least the ones that I know, like your major companies, they actually took the cameras. They're there, but you can put like tape over them, and they turned them off, the inward cameras. The outward cameras are still there, but the inward facing, because the drivers were like, we're out. We don't want nothing to do with this. Yeah, that's a lot, Wendy. 3 in the sleeping. Why do they have driving cameras in the sleeping area? I maybe understood that if you're a trainer and you're doing like, you're training like men training females, or vice versa. I get that. I get that if you're training, opposite sex, and I get that. I'm okay with that part if it's training. But that's odd to me in the sleeping area. That's really weird. Yeah, that's well. Anyway, so I'm back in healthcare. That's weird. I'm back in healthcare, so that actually works because, like I said, right now, going into next year, I believe that there's going to be some things coming in next year. I don't believe a lot of stuff is over. I believe, like I said, I believe that there are some things coming in next year. My best friend is talking about how bad things are. I don't think, and maybe it's just, oh, we're in this time where things have been bad. Economically, I think we're still in trouble. I think we're going to be in worse trouble, especially with the amount of money that our government is just pulling out the wind out the crack of its butt to do this, that, and the other thing. I think we're in trouble. I don't think inflation is going anywhere soon, especially in the arena of food. Another reason why I need to get back there and start doing my fall garden. Um, I'm very much one that still believes that you should have a stockpile of stuff. Going through this experience, I'm so grateful to God that I have what I have. Like I said, I can go in there. I made breakfast, a lot of things. What I will say that I should have done and I will be doing under the next job is I'll be watching and saving a side of money better than what I did this time. As far as food, I had that in play. I did not have the stockpile of money like I should. And God did bless. And, so that much, like I said, rent's gotten covered for this month and is covered for next month. So he blessed to move up on people's hearts to help me out with that. And then there was a little bit of a flow between the bus company and the light rail that I was able to take care of some incidentals. Oh, y'all. Okay, I'm sitting here talking to y'all. I had got my popsicle out and forgot. Y'all, hold on. I'm not happy with myself. Oh, knocked the camera over. Y'all just fell on the thing. Hold on. Y'all fell on my pile I'm working on. Hang in there. Hold on, y'all. I can't believe I just did that. Y'all, I cannot believe I just did that. But I did. Paper towel. I surely did. I'm like sitting here going and just thought about it. Okay. Hold on, y'all. Best paper towel, Costco. Oh, okay. All right, y'all. All right, back. Best paper towel, Costco, y'all. I love these fruit bars. And if they on sale, I get them. And I forgot which one. I think this is strawberry. We have a local store here called Bash's. It got bought by Ralph's, which I'm not happy about. Well, I don't know anything about Ralph's. I just hate delivering to Ralph's in Compton. Worst docs ever. First problem, you got a wall in front of you. It needs to be a drop hook and yard dogs. It's not meant for big trucks to back it in there. And you got to try to back. No. It's crazy as hell. I told Swift I would never do it anymore. They dinged me for a failed delivery because I drove that stuff right back to the yard. I didn't care. You're not putting my look. I had no accidents or incidents. If the yard dog don't do it, I'm not gonna do that. And one of the companies I work for, they would drop their trailers. They had made arrangements. They did not back them. All right, let me go read this because I missed something. Ooh, Girl, you going with your flatbed, girl. I couldn't do it. My fluffy butt be done. It's Bill, because I had a couple flatbed companies hit me up. He said, "You be a fraction of your former self." You're right. That's why I'm not doing it. I want to lose weight, but not that way. Let me go back and just read the comments, y'all. Hold on. I love my J80. You said, how old and young saints? Carolyn's in here. Flatbed is in here. Hold on. Cancel that. All right, hold on. Okay. Flatbed, Florida. Okay. Let's see here. PJ, what's up? Kathy. Let's see. And Flatbed, I'm shocked you remember that story about my dad and that person, Mandisa. Rochelle's in here. Let's see, Wendy, we talked about that. All right. Him putting nail polish on there is not good, Wendy. That can make him lose that job, so I wouldn't do that. Plus, he's damaging their cameras, so you don't want him putting nail polish on there. Oh, Monty was a hot mess. The grumpy Smurf. I be thinking about him every so often. I think about him. He was a hot mess. Amen, Disa. So let's talk about something different. So that's transportation part. A little bit of Christian stuff and a little bit of world stuff. So I don't know how many y'all into. I saw Queen Elizabeth died. And I think that's some very significant things for the times that we're in. Yeah, it's weird. It's the camera thing is weird. But there should, I do believe that there are some significant things. 70 is a very significant number. Anything divisible by 3, 5, and 7, which are God numbers. And 70 years of her reign and all of a sudden it coming to an end, that there's a significance about that. And that to me means it's a completion, but it also means what is God's plans next? Because the Bible says God places kings. So now Charles is placed in that position. I know they filmed him getting upset about something where the pen was leaking and weird like that. More of what I watched, and I don't, I'm going to say my heart goes out to that family because he's lost their mom and their grandmother. But his behavior concerned me. What I felt I was dealing with was an insolent, spoiled child. The way he acted about a leaking pen. Granted, I understand you're probably under a lot of stress because your mom died, under a lot of stress. Okay. Yeah, under a lot of stress because the mom died, under a lot of stress because of what's going on, but things are wrapping up. And I don't know what people's belief systems are, but from a Christian perspective, y'all better make sure y'all got it right. That's all I got to say. If you do get left behind in the madness of what's going on, which is going to get worse when what we believe as Christians, the rapture of the church happens, don't take that number. That's all I'm going to tell you. Do not take the buy or sell feature. Do not. You better know that you know and go ahead and say you either need to go hide out if you can hide out, or if they catch you, you just going to let your life go. Because where you're going to go if you let your life go with that number is going to be a whole nother can of worms. That's why I'm trying to be on the first boat. I'm praying for the rapture opposed to the casket, but I don't know what God's plans are for me. But there's a lot, y'all. Oh, okay, Rochelle. No, I didn't hear about the bug out bags being handed out. Right now where I'm at and my situation, I can't really bug out. With Old Man Red ain't going too far. At least I don't think he will. And I would just have to deal with what I deal with. But like I said, I'm trusting God in the situation. even in this situation I'm in, like I said, the people came in for me without me asking. They were like, and I think it's because I had a lot of friends who did not want me in the bus system based on what they knew. Now, like I said, East Valley might be different because that's another one I was looking at, and I know I lived out there. The client base is a little bit different. At least it was back 2016. I ain't been out there in since then. That's 2022. So their client base was not like Central Phoenix client base. It was like two different worlds when I would ride the bus out there. They also had newer equipment. That was another thing. Um, Real quick with the bus is that the equipment was older for some of it, and me getting in and out of two of their bus types that were the older two buses that they told us we would most likely be in, it was some work. And so for me getting in and out of a little cage and then trying to get the handicapped child, I'd be late every day if I had a disabled passenger in a wheelchair, child by, because it took me forever just to get out the little thing, then to get back up in there, then to get situated. So back to it. But back to off the bus and back to this. I just want everybody to really weigh where you're at in whatever spiritual walk you're in. I don't try to force nothing, but I am who I am. And where I'm at lately, where God brought me back to from when I was with SRT and came back here to Phoenix, there was this stronger relationship with him. And it was, like I said, it was almost, and I was describing this, some friends took me to dinner the other night, and I was describing to them the unctioning that I had to get back here to Arizona, which happened right before the pandemic, and how everything happened. And I had a whole bunch of little things that had transpired, and then the apartment came into play. And even though the company I was working for, the trucking company, was kind of ratchet, it came into play for the season it was in play for and for what it was meant to be. And it got me through the pandemic, or at least we're not, pandemic is not over. By the way, I know everybody's trying to treat it as if it's over. It is not. I'm vaccinated. Do I wear my mask? I wear it. If I go into a restaurant, I don't really wear it because I'm sitting down to eat, but I am now going out of the house. I am fully vaccinated with the exception of the bivalent booster shots, and I will most likely be getting those. I got to look and see when my last shot was. I will be getting those as well, okay? Those help you with the Omicron, I think it's Omicron or whatever. But right now, I can tell you what I am watching timeline-wise. I've been very silent with everything that has happened on a personal level, on a spiritual level, because you have to ask questions. I mean, it's like boom, 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 like, God, I got downsized out of this place. And then I go here in the transportation thinking maybe this is it because this door opens. I walk in. This doesn't look like it's quite the right fit. I try something else, and then that goes down. PJ, it is not over. It is not over. Correct. Thank you. And, you sit back, and I've been in a silent mode and just letting God deal with me. I've had a couple of dreams. The other night I had a dream on the number 533. When I researched it in the Hebrew as well as in some other aspects, it has to do with the church, strength, and courage. And it did deal with the church in Revelation, which I found interesting. I shared with my Christian group. When the church is out of here, and then like I said, we believe in a rapture, at least most Christians that I know do. When the church is raptured out of here, all hell is going to break loose on this planet like you have never seen before. We're already seeing, in my humble opinion, a foreshadowing of weird behavior. My best friend, who I love her, I don't think she's Christian, I love her. She every time I'm like, Shannon, it's just horrible, it's bad. She hates Trump. And I mean, she hates him. I feel sorry for him. I don't hate him. I just really feel sorry for him. I think he's damaged. And I think he's highly damaged, and I do think he's got some mental issues from the damage. But I also believe that when he came on the scene, it opened the door for us to see other damaged people. And I think a lot of the other damaged people lined up with him because spiritually, spirits like each other. They congregate. Same mind. And this is not over. Because things are on a trajectory as far as from a Christian perspective, I'm going to say this we, because I do believe several of us who have a good, strong relationship with God and have some discernment, we are seeing a strong trajectory towards the wrap up of time. So the next major move, by all intents purposes, of what we're seeing right now is the rapture of the church. It just has to be. Everything else, the stage is set for the one world government. It's set for the money system to be all one. It's set for an economic need, because we are getting ready to hit some times. A lot of people in America, is one of the things I keep saying, and I don't know about other countries, I can only speak to America. We are in our bubble. We have been so privileged in our thought process to, hey, I can go to the grocery store and always get what I want to eat. And, unless you've been homeless or something like that, I can, and even then, I mean, in conjunction, it's just like people from the East Coast, when they come here to Phoenix and they see our projects, they're like, that's the projects? They look like apartments. Nice apartment. They look like what I'm living in. Our projects to them look like this. And they're like, child, you ain't seen no projects. That ain't the projects. It is the projects here in Arizona. But the projects on the East Coast, a whole nother bag of, that's a whole nother bag of worms. So our projects, our ghetto is nothing. Like to them, it's nice in comparison to what they come from like the East Coast, like a New York, New Jersey, stuff like that, Chicago. So when they see ours, they're like, so the same thought process in America is that oftentimes we're so freaking privileged, and we're so in our own bubble, and I'm gonna be okay, and I can go to the grocery store and I can get this and that. And some people are starting to get eye-opening experiences, because the money that you used to have to go buy groceries for you and the kids, you don't have anymore. That's why the busing jobs are actually becoming very good. One, they got a lot of people retiring, but the other thing is you have a new group of people who financially cannot afford to either run a car, have a car, and so therefore the public transit is going to end up being their main source. Right now, that's why I said there's fields you want to be in: transportation, healthcare, probably anything with the government for a while. Maybe anything in financial banking. I don't know that I would go investment, but maybe banking. And even that may end up, because if the bank crash and burn, we're in trouble. If the government crash and burn, we in trouble. Everything will stop. Healthcare will keep running, but it'll only run in the sense of those who have that true call in their heart to care. It's kind of like what you saw in Ukraine. I'm sure the nurses weren't getting money and getting paid when the whole system is just in hell. They truly had to call those doctors and nurses to defend and to take care of life. Because being in that healthcare on that level is truly, it's a calling. It just really is. I want to be a doctor, so that's why I say it's a calling. I'm just seeing some things that are just lining up. So I give this warning, and we probably won't be on here too much longer because we're in here 88 minutes already. Whatever you guys do, I pray you just on the right spiritual track. I'm Christian. I believe in the Bible, the Christian Bible. And if you look at that and see the events and get in there and read, one of the first books I read by myself was the book of Revelation. And it told me a lot. And to be alive right now and seeing events unfold, it draws me closer, not further away. Because in my mind, what is a bug out bag? Okay, I'll let her explain it, but if not, I'll explain it. In my mind, and in my spirit, what I am seeing right now is we're leading up to an end game. And if the events, which I believe will happen the way the Bible lays it out, it's going to be bad. And like I said, if all of a sudden y'all see this very strange event where folks all of a sudden disappear, which is what's supposed to happen by our understanding of the rapture, and some cosmic events happen, then you need to hold on for your horses because you're getting ready to be on a ride. I'm just praying I don't want to be on that ride. For existing future events while we're waiting for that to happen, all people, Christian or not, I am one who believes stock up on your food. If you have space to garden, garden. If you have space inside to do hydroponics or to get some of those aerial gardens where you can grow small amounts of your food, you need to do that. Prices in the grocery store are not going to get better, they're going to get worse. I do believe we're going to see other food issues, even though they are, we're going to see it. We're going to see it because of, I really believe, some of the natural disasters that have happened. The fires, the flooding, countries such as, I think it was China or Japan, and I know Germany, they told their people to start stocking food. Germany told them in case of any kind of unrest. And I was like, wait a minute, well, what are you expecting? China, Japan, they've had some of the worst, China, I think they've had some of the worst flooding. And they're a country that deals with a lot of grains, rice. Some of our natural disasters, we're dealing with probably some of the stockpiles that some of these companies have. But in the long haul of it all, y'all need to really just look at it. I talked to one of my associates in California who's a truck driver. He lives in a small city, or smallerish city, Tulare. And he's like, oh, Shannon, I really haven't, noticed any gaps. I said, well, initially when they started talking about gaps, I hadn't noticed them either. I wasn't going to the grocery store. I was having my groceries delivered. But when I did go to the grocery store, I couldn't pick my teeth up. And we're not talking Walmart. Walmart I never really look at. Because Walmart sometimes has gaps even before this was an issue. But my major grocery stores like Safeway, Albertsons, when I went in there and all the cans, a whole bunch, I'm like, what the hell is going on? Distilled water. I don't even know if we got distilled water yet. I've been looking for distilled water for my CPAP for months. One of the pluses about my situation right now, I keep on average about 16 cases of water. Since my money is tight, I have my water, so I've been using my water supply I already got. I'm good. So that is good. You should have a stockpile in case of emergency, regardless of whether it's some big, what they call is it SHTF? The stuff hits the fan. The shiznit hits the fan. Which is where Wendy was talking about the bug out bags. To me, unless you have somewhere you're going to go, you're going to have to go up in the wilderness, try to survive. Maybe you set up for that. Physically, I don't know that I'm there. One of my goals that I would love to do and love to take y'all on that journey, I would love to own an RV and travel around the U.S. But I don't know that we're going to have that time frame with the way things is going on a spiritual level and how time feels to be wrapping up to me. But yeah, it's interesting, needless to say. Quite interesting. Anyway, guys, let me go through the comments and then I'm going to end this because we almost an hour and a half in. So for those who don't know what a bug out bag, Wendy did explain it. And I'm going to end this. And maybe I'll do one Sunday. A bug out bag is if you had an emergency let's say, and the way it is, there's a lot of heavy preppers, ones with bunkers and stuff. They basically have bags that you would throw in your vehicle and roll out. The bug out bag would have any kind of thing, like maybe filtering water, sleeping bags, tents, anything that you would need to be able to live outside of your home, that they could think of and pretty much throw in a vehicle and get out vehicle, or in some cases they might just throw them in backpacks and head out of their house if they're like, depending on where they're out in the country. So if you're maybe the South or the Midwest where you have forests and stuff like that, maybe a war is coming or something like that, that they think, and they're like, hey, I'm gonna have to get out of my house. They would throw that bag together like an emergency bag, and they would be out, and it would have what they felt they needed to survive for a period of time. That's a bug out bag. You bug out mean I'm bugging out, dude. I ain't staying here for the madness. They gonna come get the house, so I can't even live in my house. I gotta go. If you guys want to hear an interesting story, something similar, it is a Christian story. Well, it's a little bit different philosophy, but the storyline is good. It's called The Wrath, and it can be I got it on Audible, and a friend of mine had told me about it, and it was actually a very good. It's a 3-series book. I only listened to 1 and 2 because the third one was kind of irritating me, but 1 and 2. It is supposed to be dealing with its view of the rapture. So there's different views. Rapture, some think of pre-rapture, before the tribulation happens. Some think mid during the tribulation, and some think right before. He comes with, I think, the mid rapture, but it talks about the changing of time, how things change, how this one government, society, money, all this comes into play. And it talks about that and how they basically kind of bug out. In a sense, they leave their home where they were at, head to a foresty section and live there basically until the rapture happens. And this was theirs, but this may be the case for those of us who are pre-tribulation believers. This may be also the same thought process if there was a pre-tribulation rapture and people got left behind, and you needed to go hide because things are going to become different. This is all I'm gonna tell you. What we have seen right now with government control and things like that, it's gonna become different. It's just gonna become different, especially if the events go the way we think they're gonna go. So anyway, y'all, let me get my butt off of here. It's 97 minutes. Y'all be blessed. 2 and 2. Give us a like, thumbs up, share it out. If you got any other topics you want to talk about, put them below. I may check in with y'all. When I get out there in the garden again and we maybe start dealing with the fall garden, I'll take y'all back there. I haven't even gone back there to look. Because, like I said, the lizards ate up everything. And it got so hot, some of my stuff just did not do good. And I need to put a drip system on there. Anyway, peace.